Hello, welcome to Courageous Consciousness. I'm DJ Gallup, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about how to lovingly deal with Karens. And you may be asking yourself, what on earth is a Karen? Well, if you've ever worked in customer service, if you've ever worked in retail, if you've ever been a massage therapist, if you've ever been a waiter or waitress or a bartender, trust me, you have dealt with a Karen, okay? So a Karen is any woman, she's usually in her middle age, she usually has some sort of a bob haircut thing going on, and she usually has a few kids running around her, and she is always desperately unhappy, and she's always going to ask to speak to the manager. So if you've ever worked in customer service, you probably know what a Karen is. But because I like the definition so much, I actually wanted to read the top one from Urban Dictionary here. So what Urban Dictionary says is a Karen is a mother of three. She's blonde, owns a Volvo, annoying as hell, wears acrylics 24/7, and she's currently at your workplace speaking to your manager. So that's a pretty good description. If you've ever worked in customer service, you probably recognize Karen here. But the thing is, unfortunately with life, we have to deal with things that we don't like, and we have to deal with things that we do like. And Karens tend to be things that we don't like to deal with. But the question is, how do we deal with them lovingly? Because the fact of the matter is, they are parts of our lives, so we will have to deal with Karens. And more often than not, we have to deal with Karens at work. So we actually have to be fairly nice to them. So with this in mind, I wanted to talk about 4 things you can do to lovingly deal with Karens, okay? So number 1 is try to empathize with Karen as much as is humanly possible. And I know that this will not be an easy one because Karens tend to be really difficult. But you have to try and understand that there is probably actually a reason that they are unhappy. And it probably isn't really the service that your establishment provided. There's probably bigger reasons. Maybe they're unhappy with their marriage, unhappy with their kids, whatever else. But you do have to try and empathize with them as much as possible. And the more you can empathize with them, the less likely you are to hate them. So we don't want to hate anyone. We want to love people. And we're going to try and get to that place with Karen by empathizing with her as much as possible. Okay? My number two suggestion is make sure you actually have your manager on speed dial, because the faster that Karen can get to your manager, the happier she's going to be, or in a relative sense, the happier she's going to be. Karens tend not to be terribly happy people. But you do want to make sure you have your manager as close as possible when Karen shows up. Because first of all, that will get her away from you, but it also will make her a lot happier that she's making progress, at least as far as she's, in her mind, she's making some progress toward her goal, which is getting her viewpoints across to your manager, okay? Number three thing I would recommend is when all else fails, especially if your manager isn't around, agree. Just try and remember as much as possible that the customer is always right. And this is not an easy one, especially if Karen's complaints you think are completely unwarranted. But what you can do is just as much as possible, agree, and just kind of placate Karen. Because what else are you going to do? You aren't going to successfully counter her with policies or other, rationalizations. She's not going to deal with that. So you do have to lovingly just placate Karen and just agree with her on every front and apologize and tell her, oh yes, we're so sorry that, this and this happened, and just try and make her feel better. So that's number 3. Try and placate her, okay? And number 4, this was a good one. Just try to remember that this too shall pass. And I find that this is something I use a lot when I deal with anyone in my life who's difficult. I try and just remember that this situation, which I may not be terribly happy in right now, this too shall pass. Eventually, Karen will move on and she will go bug the manager of some other establishment. And that is okay. So let her get her piece out. Let her say what she has to say. Let her complain and get whatever she has to get in return to make sure she's happy. And just remind yourself as Karen is going on that this too shall pass. Because it is not any use to you being mean or getting upset with Karen. It's not going to help you at all. So we do have to try and remember as much as possible that we want to be loving with Karen. She may not be easy to get on with. You may not want to deal with Karen, but let me tell you, we do want to deal with her as lovingly as possible because we have to deal with them and we have to be nice to them, or at least as much as possible, we have to be nice to them. So we may as well also be loving with them. So those are my 4 suggestions on how to deal with Karens. I hope you like it. Anyway, I'm making videos on the regular now, so I hope to see you guys all tomorrow. Have a great day.